Alright, so welcome back to the Simple Cooking Stream. Today we're going to be making a apple crisp. So an apple crisp is basically just a little tart with apples on the bottom, a bit of a sweet crumble on top, and when you actually bake it, it's going to kind of infuse together into this little tart. Obviously it's going to be something a lot bigger that you can cut a little piece out, but that's basically what you're going to make, an apple crumble. So apple crumbles are one of my favorite things to eat and definitely to make because apple crumbles are extremely easy to do. All you're going to need is about a half cup of butter. Preferably you want it softened, so just leave it outside for a bit if you can. If not, I'm going to show you a cool little trick that you can do. Make sure you have an oven on at 375. And you can have that warming while you're kind of going over your ingredients and measuring things out. You're going to want some sugar. It preferably says a cup, but I recommend a half cup because it does tend to be a bit too sweet, especially depending on the apples that you're using as well. So this is about a little over a cup. Then the next one is you're going to definitely need 1 cup of flour. You want to have it sifted or at least loosely placed into a bowl because if you pack it, it's not going to mix well when you're combining all the ingredients. And the last thing is some apple slices. So this is about 2.5 cups worth of apple slices. Preferably that's going to be about 4 small apples or 2 large apples. And basically all you want to do is just peel it like a potato, decore it, so you just want to cut them in half and get rid of the seeds in the middle. You can do it with a spoon, or if you're more handy with a knife, you can try cutting it out. But I prefer with a spoon if you're going to be a little too cautious with it, just in case. And you just want to make them into just thin slices, nothing more than that. It's okay if they break apart into further pieces. It's going to be packed on the bottom of the tart anyway, and you're really not going to see what it looks like ultimately. So just anything simple like this is good. The next 2 things you're going to need are about a half teaspoon of salt and a half teaspoon of cinnamon. And I prefer about a teaspoon if you can. Sometimes you can even do a little more than that. But I recommend at least a half teaspoon just to put some in there. Again, if you can't put any cinnamon in there, don't worry about it. Nutmeg is a good alternative as well. Same for the butter as well. You can try using a vegan alternative, which is such as any sort of oil that can coagulate, so a type of spread or margarine that is non-dairy based would work as well. The next thing you're going to want to do is have a large bowl. Again, I have a mixer just to make things a lot easier to show on camera, but you just want a large bowl to kind of mix everything together. And the first thing you want to do is actually get any of your dry ingredients, so your flour, just throw it in there. Your sugar, you want that in there as well. Your cinnamon, you want to just spread it in there as well. And lastly, your salt. So with a wooden spoon or anything you have available, or again you can use your machine, just kind of mix it together so all the dry ingredients are even. You just want to have everything evenly mixed. It's going to be very, very simple to do. Okay. So all our dry ingredients are mixed, and here's where the trick comes with the butter. So with the butter, if you have a microwavable dish, what you can do is grab the stick, and see this one is not melted all the way, and you don't want to melt it to a liquid, you just want it to be a little soft. So what you do is you can put it into a microwavable dish, go to your microwave, just place it inside, and then I recommend about 15 seconds to 12 seconds, so we'll just put 12 since it's been staying out for a bit. And here's what you have to do. Most microwave settings are going to have a power level button. It'll be a lot different depending on the microwave that you have, but you want it to be lower to about 50%. So you just want half of the power used. And I recommend you checking how much power is in your microwave because most of the time it's already at 100. So you just want to lower it down to 50. Or other microwaves might be 1 to 10 scale, so that would be a 5. So we're just going to put it in for about 12 seconds. And when it comes out, you're going to see that it's going to be softened. Just like you left it outside, kind of slowly melting. If you do it at 100, what will happen is it'll instantly melt, or it will be soft on the outside and not on the inside. So see how it's completely soft? I can touch it and it just falls on its own weight. And we're just going to throw it in there. And so we're going to get our bowl. And again, the only thing different if you do not have a machine is just do this by hand with a whisk. If you want it to be easier on yourself, if you're doing it by hand, what you can do is slice the butter into chunks and then throw it in even portions in the bowl and then mix it with a wooden spoon. And again, you just want to have everything in a large bowl because it will get messy if you have something a little too shallow. So the next thing we'll do is just get it ready to stir. So that's going to keep stirring for a bit, and we just want that to get to around mealy texture. Everything needs to be properly infused. That's going to take a bit of time, and we may need to get a spatula to move the butter around a bit too. So while that's going on, you're going to want to get your apple slices, and you want to get a baking dish. This one I have is glass, 8 inches by 8 inches. You can use a different baking dish, but I prefer something with a wide surface area, such as this, because then you have a lot more apples at the bottom, so when you serve it, it will be even for everyone. So all you're going to do is get some oil. I'm using some light olive oil, and I'm just going to quickly grease the bottom. And you're just going to start layering the apples in there. So it's okay if it's not too even, you just want it to kind of cover the white. And you have enough apples to do that if you, again, make about 2.5 cups worth. And you can even use more apples if you'd like. Gives it a better, fruity flavor to it, and typically the more apples you use, the thicker your tart will be, but also the sweeter it will be as well, which means you can possibly use a bit less sugar. So the apples I'm using at this moment are Gala apples. We just got what was available near us. But any apple will do. The only apple I strongly recommend against is maybe a type of Red Delicious or Golden Delicious. They tend to get a little mealy and fall apart under their own weight. Especially after leaving the apples out for a bit. See how these kind of still kept their color. Just minor browning. But with the Golden or Red Delicious, I don't think they're as flavorful as a Gala, Fuji, or even a Pink Lady apple. If you can get your hands on a Honey Crisp or Cosmic Crisp apple, I highly recommend doing that because, in my opinion, they're usually one of the best apples you can have. So just continuing to layer everything over. And so again, I just want to remind you to make sure you have your oven already set, because if you do not have it set already, what will happen is you're just going to be waiting for it to warm up, and the apples tend to oxidize a bit more over time, so then you're going to have a brown bottom apple tart. And the flavor kind of tastes a little different from where the apples are sitting. Alright, so the apples are spread out. They're as even as I can make it. Again, you can even press them down a bit, just making sure that all the pockets are kind of covered. Doesn't have to be too perfect. This is meant to be a very quick and easy recipe. Alright, so let's go ahead and check with our mixture. So if you did it properly, you'll see you'll have basically kind of a mealy texture, and maybe more or less. The more sugar you use, the more mealy it will become. But you basically just want everything evenly mixed. Again, you may have some excess on the whisk, and that's perfectly fine. But you want it so that you can easily just pour it out. So we're just going to pour it over. And so with a small spatula, you're just going to press it over the apples. You don't want to do it too hard because you want to have that bit of space at the bottom, some pockets. And because it's infused with the butter, what will happen is while it's in the oven, the butter is going to melt and it's going to infuse into the apples. And it will form a tart, while the top is going to lose moisture and start to harden. And that's how you get your crumbly top. Great. So this is ready to go into the oven. With your oven set at 375, just put that in. And you're going to want to put this for about 40 minutes, maximum 45, just depending on how your oven works. And that's about it. When you're done, you're going to end up with something that looks a bit like this. So it's going to be crumbly on the top. You're going to see apples at the bottom. And it's going to be extremely delicious. You can have this for dessert or maybe a breakfast snack. And that's about it. So next time, tune in next week for another recipe that we'll have for the Simple Cooking Stream, and leave us an email at simplecookingstream@gmail.com. And if you want to watch this later, you can definitely see this on YouTube. Thank you.